So we're going to go ahead and get started. Where's the senator? Who's in there talking?
Yeah, let me get it.
The governor teased me. He says, where are you coming from? Vermont? What's your flannel shirt on? You're supposed to laugh. There you go. Come on. What's your delegation? No, they're not a part of the Windsor delegation. We are. Because Don wasn't here.
I know him from my chamber.
Well, good morning, everyone. I am State Representative Brandon McGee. I'm also joined by the Windsor delegation, Senator Douglas McQuarrie and Representative Jane Garibay. And we're so glad that each and every one of you could join us here in the 5th Assembly District to talk about what's really important, providing resources and support to our local small businesses. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the Department of Economic and Community Development for their support throughout this pandemic and recognizing that we have to continue to invest in our small businesses. And I got to tell you, we're standing in front of one of the most, I don't even eat meat, but I'm telling you the sides, they're really good. Lily's. And if you ask anyone in this area, they know Lily's. So again, welcome on behalf of the town of Windsor. I know our mayor is coming, but we wanted to go ahead and get started. Don Tranks and our town council. So again, thank you so much.
Good, Jim.
I'm just so excited because I know Mr. Lilly and his family from my days working at the Chamber of Commerce. They are an exemplary business that has known how to change with the times. And I'm just so excited that the governor has chosen this location to talk about helping small business. Thank you.
And finally, it's a great opportunity. Lily's is one of my favorite restaurants. I come here often after I come from church, which is right across the street. And again, welcome to the 2nd Senatorial District. I'm Senator Douglas McQuarrie. I'm excited about this opportunity from DECD to continue the work they've been doing since this pandemic. Clearly, the governor understands that small business is the economic force in our communities, and providing opportunities for small business to expand and continue the great work they do is a great sign, and it shows great leadership from our governor and from the Department of Economic Community Development. So with that being said, I think I'll pass the torch over to Gwendolyn from DECD, and we can get started. Thank you again.
Thank you, Senator. And first and foremost, I really just want to say thank you to our governor, our lieutenant governor, our legislative leadership, Senator McQuarrie, our state representative, Jane McGray, and also our state representative, Carolyn Simmons, who you'll hear from momentarily, who's our co-chair of Commerce, for their ongoing dedication and support, not only in keeping our residents safe, but also the support they've shown for our agency as we continue to keep our small businesses going and our economy going. So thank you. So why are we here today? We know that our small businesses are a vital part of Connecticut's economy, and their success is essential as we recover and come out of this economic downturn stronger. Small businesses are our greatest potential to create jobs, provide economic mobility, and money directly back into our communities. So many of our small businesses have been struggling for months to protect their businesses, their livelihoods, as well as their employees. I have been amazed by the resiliency, the creative measures that they have implemented, the care that they've taken with their patrons to provide the utmost customer service in the safest way through these very challenging and uncertain times. This has not been lost on this administration. Small businesses are truly our heart and soul of this economy and our communities. Given the limited resources that the Department of Economic Development has had access to, we have been very strategic on how we continue to support as many businesses as possible, especially those hardest hit and disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. Businesses like Lily's Soulful Restaurant, which is why we're here today. That said, today DECD officially announces a $50 million grant program for our smallest businesses using Federal CARES Act dollars. The grants are targeted to businesses with no more than $1.5 million in annualized payroll expenses or fewer than 20 employees, can demonstrate 20% or more revenue loss year over year as of September 20th, 2020, compared to 2019 for that same period. If they meet all these eligibility requirements and are approved, they will receive a one-time grant of $5,000. $50 million will fund 10,000 businesses through this program by the end of the year, December 30th, 2020. The main policy goals, there are two main policy goals for this program. First, aid our smallest and hardest hit businesses, so 20 or fewer. There are 50,000 of those that employ 350,000 people statewide. Many of these businesses were least likely to get access to the Federal CARES Act dollars through the Paycheck Protection Program. And second, target areas of our state that have been disproportionately impacted by COVID based on unemployment and economic loss. 25 million of the 50, so half of the 50, will be allocated to small businesses located in distressed municipalities, which include many of our urban and rural communities. As of 2019, there were 25 municipalities that were designated as distressed. 20% of our small businesses are in distressed municipalities and have seen higher unemployment, higher rates of COVID, and 50% of our Black and Latinx populations live in these areas. Preliminary results from a recent business impact survey showed us that 79% of businesses experienced revenue decreases as compared to this time last year. Women and minority-owned businesses were more likely than others to experience revenue decline greater than 50%. Minority-owned businesses were more likely than other businesses to be in economically distressed communities. Hence why we are focused on our most challenged and disproportionately impacted communities with these grants. Our timeline. DECD estimates it will begin accepting applications the week of November 19th. We have engaged SoFi, a California-based fintech firm. You may recall we used them for our recovery bridge program earlier this year. They have engaged with us again and are partnering alongside us, and it's a pro bono gift to the state, which we are truly grateful for their ongoing commitment to support our small businesses. The next couple of weeks are very, very critical in this process. As we continue to develop the application and get ready for the week of November 9th, we are going to be doing intensive and significant outreach via webinars and other communication tactics to make sure that everybody is on a level playing field. They have as much information as possible about the application process, what is going to be required of them, to put them in the best possible position to be successful when we go live the week of November 9th. We want to make sure, again, everybody has access and we can equitably distribute the funds. For more information and on eligibility and other details and more updates, people can go to businessct.gov, which is our one-stop shop website, and you can get access to all the information that I just went over and more updates, again, as we continue through this process. Again, I want to say thank you for all of you being here today. Thank you to our partners, specifically our Congressman Larson, who has been a true partner, because there's no way the state of Connecticut could do this and support our businesses without the support of our federal delegation and all the billions of dollars that our businesses have already accessed to date. So with that, I'm going to now introduce Andre Lilly, who is hosting us here today. He is a long-standing member of this community, has been serving our community, which I'm a part of. I am a frequent patron of Lily's as well. It's a family generational restaurant, and it just exemplifies who the businesses are that we're trying to reach and help navigate this process. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the governor's office for selecting us as a venue to use for this program, and we're grateful. And we have been in this community for over 31 years, and I would say this past 9 months has been the most challenging time that we've seen in all of our years. But thankfully, due to programs that have been in place and our faithful customers, we've learned to do things differently and to accommodate the community in a different way. So we've been blessed to be able to survive so far, and I'm grateful. But thank you again for choosing us as a venue. All right.
Thank you, Andre. So next we'll have Governor Lamont say a few words. Again, I just can't say enough about his leadership because we all know this has been no small feat to navigate and build the plane as we go, if you will. And he has just been a true leader and supporter of our small businesses and has been a champion for this program, pushing us to do more and what can we do more. So thank you, Governor.
Hey, thank you, Glenn. And Andre, got a lot of people here who are hungry. Want to come back next time and enjoy great soul food at Lily's. And first of all, this is some of the CARES Act funding. And I'm really proud that Congressman John Larson is here. He took a real leadership role when we needed that going back a few months. The House has got another bill for the next round of funding. It's still stuck in the Senate. And in the meantime, John, we need the Senate to step up. We need the President to step up. And until then, what we're trying to do with programs like this, as Glenn was saying, is build a bridge so we can help small companies like Lily's get on the backside of this pandemic. You know, Lily's got a hold of some of the PPP, the Paycheck Protection money, going back some months ago. Again, thanks to John Larson and the CARES Act. Got some of the other minority investment loan funds that we're able to put together with DECD. And what's unique about this $50 million program is there are going to be 10,000 small companies. They get a $5,000 grant between now and December 31st. You know, just when they need that. The smallest businesses, those that sometimes weren't able to get a hold of the PPP like Andre was, help to keep these small businesses minority-owned, women-owned, that are most at risk in terms of the shortfall that has hit our economy. And I really hope that this is going to be a bridge, not a bridge to nowhere, but a bridge to the backside of this pandemic. But we still have a way to go. We still have a way to go. I think you all see what's going on around the rest of the country with a spike in numbers, and Connecticut's not an island unto itself. We just got our latest infection numbers, and they're at 3%. 3% infection. We haven't had 3% infection rate, 3% of all the people testing positive, you know, going back till June. And alongside of that, we have 22 more people hospitalized. So that tells you it's going to take a little bit longer for us to get through this, a little bit longer to the therapies and vaccines are able to give us some security on the backside of COVID. In the meantime, you know, what we're doing with DECD, what we're doing with Doug McCrory, what we're doing with the legislature is doing everything we can to help these small businesses power through until everybody can come back. In the meantime, you can come back now. We're going to build a nice outdoor patio outside entertainment area there. Indoors been redone. It's absolutely beautiful. And I just urge each and every one of you, when you see these sobering numbers on the infection rate and the hospitalizations, be careful, stay disciplined, hang with us a little bit longer. We are going to get through this. We're going to get through it together. And with that, I'd really like to introduce my friend, Congressman John Larson, without whom none of this would have been possible.
Well, let me thank you, Governor, and let me join the sentiments of our representatives and senator who are here today. And truly, the great story across America is the way that our governors are leading. In the absence of leadership coming from the presidency, to have governors that are stepping into the fray and taking on this enormous responsibility, it's been heartening wherever we travel to have people point to the state of Connecticut and the leadership that has been provided by Governor Lamont in these very difficult times. The governor rightfully mentioned that this is money that came from the CARES Act. The CARES Act is how government is supposed to work. CARES Act was proposed and initiated and passed bipartisanly. Initiated in the House, and the House and Senate passed a bill and came together, and it was signed by the president. And it's that valuable money, whether it's paycheck protection or whether it's providing masks, gloves, and gowns, and all the kind of protective equipment that our frontliners and first responders need in order to function. We knew back then what Chairman Powell has said over and over again, that if we want to avoid a recession, we have to make sure that we're going big and that we are investing money and not make the mistake that was made in 2008 and in 2009. Powell has not said once but several times, put more money into the program so we can send that money back to the states that are utilizing it. And whether it's for paycheck protection, whether it's for equipment, or whether it's for the unique programs that you see DECD executing here today and that Andre is a benefactor of. But we need more of it. We hear daily from retailers and people in restaurants about the money that they need. Thank God we have a governor that's out there and listening. We're traveling to Stackpoles later on to talk to them this week about their needs and concerns. People who are struggling, hanging on by their fingernails just to keep their doors open and keep their businesses flush. All they need is a little help from their government. And what's happening in Washington, D.C.? The House of Representatives 6 months ago passed the HEROES Act. 6 months ago passed a bill for $3.4 trillion. That bill still sits in the United States Senate, along with about 340 others that they haven't taken any action on. They said they wanted to negotiate. The Senate hasn't even voted on their own $1.1 trillion that they proposed. In fact, they now say that they're at $500 billion. The Senate is going in the opposite direction. The House voted just 2 weeks ago, again, in an effort to demonstrate compromise and to bring along, and at the urging of governors like Lamont, to say, get us the money that we need and get it now. We came forward with a $2.2 trillion package, which would have meant $7 billion coming to the state of Connecticut. And again, the Senate would not participate, and the President and Secretary Mnuchin could not come to agreement. We continue to negotiate, but frankly, people are tired of the negotiation. They want to see action. The House will vote again. We're on 24-hour call to come back if any kind of an agreement can be reached, but frankly, none does. We have a bill sitting on the Senate. Do your job. Do what you're elected to do. Vote on the legislation. And if you're not for it, then vote it down and send it to a conference committee. That's how this process is supposed to work. Let me again commend the governor, commend DECD, especially Andre and Lily's and your great opening here, and our state reps and senator. I'm a little upset that Mayor Trinks isn't here, but I think it's because he's looking for a special grant for Bart's. And make sure we tell him that when we see him. But thank you so much, Governor, for your continued work and support.
Thank you. Thank you, Congressman. With leadership like that representing us and our entire federal delegation, I know we can surely anticipate some more support coming soon. So thank you. Last but not least, we'll hear from Representative Caroline Simmons, who's co-chair of the Commerce Committee in our legislature. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Commissioner Thames. I want to thank Governor Lamont. I want to thank Congressman Larson, as well as my wonderful colleagues, Senator McCrory, Representative McGee, and Representative Garibay, for all of your leadership amidst this pandemic and for coming together today to announce this critically important grant funding to support small businesses across our state. I also want to especially thank Lily's soul food owner, Andre, for hosting us today. And I have to agree with my colleagues, this restaurant is amazing. We've been fortunate to get to feast on some Lily's late night at the Capitol, and you never disappoint. So I want to encourage anyone, if you haven't checked out Lily's yet, come try their amazing food. I promised my husband, if he watched the baby today, that I would bring him home some chicken and sweet potato pie. So I couldn't be more honored to be here today as we announce this vital funding, $50 million in funding to support over 10,000 businesses across our state with $5,000 grants. And I want to especially commend the governor and DECD leadership for really listening to small businesses across our state who have been in desperate need of this grant funding. You know, many of them have had to shut down at no fault of their own, but because of the devastating effects of this pandemic. And a result of those months of shutdown, they lost significant amounts of revenue and unfortunately can't afford to take on more debt and loans right now. And so what they really need right now is grant funding. And so I really want to commend the governor and Congressman Larson and my legislative colleagues for their leadership in making this possible. This funding is going to be instrumental in helping small businesses be able to afford their rent, to pay their utility bill, to maintain their equipment and their inventory. And small businesses like Lily's are the backbone of our economy. They create 2/3 of all new jobs, they hire locally, and they contribute greatly to the vibrancy of our communities. So I want to thank Lily's for your strength and resilience throughout this pandemic. I want to thank all of our small businesses across Connecticut who've made incredible sacrifices to weather this storm. And I know we're all going to get through this together. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And I guess now we'll take some questions. Governor?
Did you say the application's going to be ready the 19th
I'm sorry.
or the 9th of November? The applications, will they be ready the 9th of October? The 9th of November or the 19th?
The week of November 9th, the applications will be available.
Can you restate the criteria? It's 20% of revenue.
So it's for businesses with 20 or fewer employees, or 1.5 in annualized payroll expenses. So technically, you could have a business with 30, full-time equivalent employees that is eligible based on their payroll. So 20 or few is not really the measure, it's really the annualized revenue of 1.5 or fewer.
1.5 million?
1.5 million, yes.
So if you have under 20, can you have over 1.5?
I'm sorry.
If you have under 20 people and you have over 1.5 million, that's not okay?
Both are okay. Yes.
Or
It's either or, yes.
$5,000, how far is that going to go for a small business, and why did you decide on $5,000 as opposed to some other amount?
So we spent a lot of time going through sizing this, and again, going back to kind of our priority areas and our policy goals. It was really how could we efficiently and most simply provide grants to as many businesses as possible that have been hardest hit. And so based off of, what we know the universe to be relative to 20 or fewer, 5,000 was a really good number to get 10,000 businesses funding.
And there's 50,000 that are eligible, and they employ 350,000 people, correct?
I'm sorry, say that.
50,000 companies and nonprofits that fall within that parameter, and they employ 350,000 people?
Correct.
Governor, you just gave us some startling numbers on the COVID outbreak. What do you make of these increases, and what do you make of them?
First of all, these are 10,000 small companies, one half of whom are in our most distressed communities, who are going to get $5,000, which could be life-saving. over the course of the next 6 weeks. Getting that money to people on a timely basis is so important. Yeah, Paul, I'm looking at the fact that the United States of America had the highest infection rate they've had in 3 months. Yesterday, I haven't seen the numbers for today, about 69,000. And Connecticut had the highest percentage infection rate that we've had in 3 months as well. I've been talking to Massachusetts, Rhode Island. I was on with New York and New Jersey. This is happening around our country, and it's happening around our region. And that means two things. A, we're going to have to be disciplined a little bit longer. And B, we're going to do everything we can to help our small businesses power through this over the course of the next couple months until we have a vaccine and a therapy that gives us a little more confidence.
Do you have anything new to provide to update us on regarding the status of the travel advisory and the changes that you outlined?
Yeah, the question is on the travel advisory. We just talked to Governors Cuomo and Murphy, and what we decided to do was for our 3 states, we're almost like one region. So there's going to be no travel advisory as regards travel but among our 3 states. And that said, urge everybody to stay close to home as best you can. No need to do non-essential travel. And for the rest of the country, we'll keep our existing metrics in place, which is a 10 per 100,000 or 10%.
So you're not going to change it to the metric that you outlined yesterday?
We're not going to change it for the everybody else. We're going to keep that the same, just for our 3 states do that. And I'll probably be reaching out to Rhode Island and Massachusetts as well. We're one region to allow people to facilitate back and forth.
Well, you seem to be interested in doing that. Was Governors Cuomo and Murphy opposed to making the change that you...
No, what we didn't want to have happen was Connecticut's on quarantine, can't drive into New York, and New Jersey can't drive into New York. That didn't make any sense at all. But rather than change the metrics overall, made a lot more sense to say within our 3 states, it's treated as one region, and we'll be able to travel between each other.
Governor Cuomo today did say he is advising against non-essential travel from Connecticut to New York, citing more numbers. I know you touched on that a little bit, but can you elaborate? What does that mean for the residents of Fairfield County? Some of them who have family, maybe they need to do what would not be considered non-essential travel.
Well, right now, there has always been an exemption for work. So if you're going down there for less than 24 hours, that was always exempt. But more importantly, if you don't have to travel, if you don't have to go into parts of Brooklyn and Queens where you've got a 8% positivity rate, don't go. It's really just for essential travel at this point. We want to slow down the interface back and forth. That's New York to Connecticut and Connecticut to New York.
Dr. Cuomo alluded to having additional information sometime tomorrow. He said he's going to keep talking to you today. Do you know what that's going to look like? What can people anticipate? I know a lot of our viewers are on edge thinking, what does this mean for them?
I hope I'm not letting the cat out of the bag, but our discussion was just what I told Paul, which is we're going to keep the overall travel advisory in place for all the other states, but for New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey, we're going to have a pact where we don't have the travel advisory that impacts any of the 3 of us when we travel amongst each other.
Here's here. There's rumors flying around with the election 2 weeks away. Do you know if you're being considered for any cabinet level positions?
Absolutely not. They're too smart for that.
Governor, so just to be clear, it was for the nation 10% positivity rate and 10 or 10.
It was 10 out of 100,000 or 10% positivity rate.
Right, but it was or and now it's and. Is that right?
It was or and it's staying or. We're not going to change the existing travel advisory for anybody else, just for our 3 states.
Right. So, but the or and the and, that change does remain.
It's going to stay 10% or a 10% positivity rate. Or. Yeah, that's right.
So, what more are you going to do within the state as the rate goes up toward the national rate of 5%? You know, we're at 3 now, you just said. If it inches up, what more are you going to do by way of phase 3 reopening and scaling back?
I don't think we have to be in a position where we're talking about scaling back at this point. But obviously, if things got up 5-7%, if we saw what's happening in places like North Dakota and Wisconsin and Nevada, we would take a second look. In the meantime, what we're finding is that it's those small informal interactions, which is where most of the infections take place. and we're doing everything we can to make sure people maintain their discipline. I know they're exhausted. I know we've been going through this for months. I know you wish it was over, and it will be over, and it'll be over a lot faster if you wear the mask and keep the distancing. Thanks, everybody.
Question they sent me to ask you for on remote learning. I guess 3% of students haven't logged on to remote learning yet, and the states would like to know if there's any way to improve on that number.
The question was 3% of folks on remote learning haven't logged in. I might turn that on its head. 97% of the kids have logged in for remote learning, which is much better than we were in May. Half of our kids around the state, K through 5, have full-time school, which is really amazing compared to a lot of our peers going forward. And I hope we can keep this going and adding on over time. Thanks, everybody.